In the theatre of modern warfare, the battle is no longer fought only with missiles and machines. It is fought with precision, unpredictability, and the art of forcing your opponent to think twice before they act. And right now, Pakistan's air tactics are doing exactly that, turning the skies of South Asia into a chessboard where every move sends ripples far beyond its borders. The evolution of Pakistan's air strategy post-Balakot marks one of the most significant shifts in South Asian military dynamics in decades, and it is precisely this transformation that has caught the eyes and the concerns of Western defense circles. Before 2019, Pakistan's aerial doctrine was largely defensive in nature, structured around deterring aggression and safeguarding its airspace. While the Pakistan Air Force, PAF, maintained an impressive operational record, its maneuvers were predictable, designed to counter India's larger and better-funded military through calculated restraint and strategic defense. However, the events that followed the Balakot incident completely rewrote this script. In February 2019, after the Indian Air Force conducted airstrikes on Balakot in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, Pakistan's military responded not with hesitation, but with a carefully orchestrated aerial counter-offensive the very next day. This operation, codenamed Swift Retort, demonstrated a level of planning, precision, and speed that stunned observers, not just in the region, but across NATO and Western defense networks. The PAF launched multiple fighter aircraft, including F-16s and JF-17s, to target Indian military positions across the line of control, deliberately avoiding civilian casualties, but still achieving the strategic objective of demonstrating capability, control, and calculated escalation. This was a crucial moment where Pakistan showcased it could escalate without spiraling into full-scale war, a nuanced tactic that many Western analysts immediately recognized as both dangerous and strategically brilliant. What made this shift alarming was not just the fact that Pakistan responded, but how it did so. The operation was executed with remarkable speed. Fighters were scrambled, coordinated targeting was achieved, and the mission was carried out within a tightly controlled window that denied the adversary time to fully respond. This is the kind of rapid mobilization capability that modern air warfare prizes, and that Western military planners often seek to perfect themselves. Moreover, Pakistan's demonstrated ability to integrate real-time intelligence, airspace management, and precision targeting into a single operational package suggested a doctrinal evolution far beyond the region's previous norms. Balakot effectively became a case study in controlled, high-intensity, limited-scope aerial retaliation, an approach that blurs the line between defensive deterrence and offensive opportunism. In the years following the incident, Pakistan has continued to refine this doctrine. Its aerial training exercises have emphasized short-notice scramble drills, deep penetration simulations, and precision strike rehearsals, signals that it is preparing not just to defend, but to respond with speed and accuracy anywhere along its contested borders. For Western defense observers, this evolution presents a unique challenge. Pakistan is no longer simply a reactive air power. It has demonstrated the willingness and capability to initiate tactical offensives without losing the moral and diplomatic high ground. The Balakot episode also underlined Pakistan's growing confidence in its indigenous platforms, such as the JF-17 Thunder, and its ability to integrate them alongside high-tech imports like the F-16. This blend of cost-effective, locally maintained aircraft with sophisticated Western-built systems creates a force mix that is both sustainable and adaptable, making it harder to predict and counter in a high-speed engagement. The shift from a static defense posture to a proactive, agile, and precision-oriented air strategy is why Western military analysts have elevated Pakistan's air tactics to a point of serious strategic consideration. Pakistan's integration of advanced drone warfare into its air tactics represents a paradigm shift in how it projects power, gathers intelligence, and engages potential threats, and this has deeply unsettled Western defense analysts who closely monitor emerging military doctrines. Traditionally, drones in South Asia were seen as secondary tools, used primarily for surveillance over hostile or contested areas, with limited offensive capabilities. However, Pakistan has aggressively moved beyond that traditional scope, adopting both indigenous and imported unmanned aerial vehicles, UAVs, to create a layered drone strategy that is not just reactive but strategically offensive when needed. This transformation is not an isolated technological upgrade. It is a doctrinal shift that brings Pakistan's air tactics into the realm of modern hybrid warfare, blending manned and unmanned assets into a cohesive operational network. The introduction of AI-assisted targeting, real-time data links, and high-precision payload delivery systems means Pakistan can now deploy drones as both the spearhead of a strike and as a support element for manned fighter operations. This versatility makes it harder for adversaries to anticipate Pakistan's moves because drones can be sent in first to probe air defenses, conduct electronic jamming, or relay real-time targeting data for follow-up strikes. A key reason Western defense circles are alarmed is that Pakistan's drone strategy does not solely depend on imported technology from allies like China or Turkey, though those partnerships have significantly bolstered its capabilities. For example, Turkey's Bayraktar TB2 drones, which proved highly effective in conflicts like Nagorno-Karabakh and Ukraine, are now part of Pakistan's inventory, offering a combat-tested platform for reconnaissance and precision strikes. Simultaneously, indigenous drone programs have been steadily maturing, producing UAVs that may not match the endurance or payload of top-tier Western systems, but are well suited for Pakistan's regional needs, cost-effective and maintainable without foreign dependence. This dual-source approach ensures Pakistan's drone fleet is resilient against sanctions or supply chain disruptions, a factor that Western strategists note as a significant advantage in sustaining long-term operations during crises. The integration of drone warfare into broader air strategy has also introduced new layers of unpredictability. Drones can be deployed in swarm tactics to overwhelm enemy radar, serve as decoys to mislead anti-air defenses, or operate in conjunction with cyber and electronic warfare units to disrupt communications before a manned strike. This level of coordination was largely absent in South Asia a decade ago, and its emergence has forced Western defense planners to recalibrate their assessment of Pakistan's operational capabilities. Moreover, drones allow Pakistan to conduct persistent surveillance deep into adversary territory without risking pilot lives, gathering continuous intelligence on troop movements, radar positions, and missile deployments. This constant feed of actionable intelligence allows for faster, more informed decision-making during crises, enabling Pakistan to strike quickly and accurately if required. Perhaps the most troubling aspect for Western observers is that drone warfare effectively lowers the threshold for engagement. Because drones can be deployed with minimal political and human risk compared to manned aircraft, Pakistan can project force or respond to provocations in ways that keep escalation under tighter control while still achieving strategic effects. This blurring of lines between surveillance, deterrence, and active engagement makes it far more challenging for opposing forces to read Pakistan's intentions in real time. The fusion of advanced drone warfare into Pakistan's evolving air tactics has thus not only expanded its reach and resilience, but also introduced a flexible, low-cost, and high-impact tool that reshapes the operational landscape in South Asia, compelling Western defense establishments to pay close and continuous attention. Pakistan's mastery of hybrid air tactics has emerged as one of the most strategically unsettling developments for Western defense circles because it represents a sophisticated fusion of traditional fighter aircraft operations with advanced electronic warfare, decoy strategies, and cross-border penetration drills that are designed to stretch an adversary's defensive capacity to its limits. Unlike the more linear air doctrines that focus solely on either offensive or defensive postures, hybrid tactics blend multiple modes of warfare into a single operational flow, making them inherently unpredictable and difficult to counter. For Pakistan, this approach has been particularly effective in leveraging its comparatively smaller air fleet against larger adversaries. Instead of relying solely on raw numbers, the Pakistan Air Force, PAF, has focused on how to amplify the impact of each sortie through deception, coordination, and technological integration. Hybrid air tactics often begin long before the first aircraft takes off, involving cyber reconnaissance, electronic jamming of enemy radar systems, and the use of unmanned aerial vehicles to mislead or saturate air defences. These measures create confusion and force an adversary to spread its defences thin, opening exploitable gaps for manned fighters to penetrate. The significance of these tactics became clearer after the Balakot episode, when Pakistan began to openly incorporate elements of electronic warfare into its aerial exercises, suggesting a shift toward a doctrine where disruption is as important as destruction. By integrating radar jamming pods, deceptive flight patterns, and dummy targets, the PAF has learned how to mask its real strike assets in a crowd of false signatures, making it harder for enemy air defenses to prioritize threats. In practice, this means that even if a technologically superior opponent detects multiple inbound contacts, there is no immediate certainty which ones carry the real threat, buying precious seconds for strike aircraft to execute their mission. This is a tactic often associated with major NATO powers, and its appearance in South Asia signals a level of doctrinal sophistication that was not previously attributed to Pakistan. Another layer to Pakistan's hybrid tactics is the deliberate use of UAVs as both reconnaissance and offensive enablers during manned operations. While drones gather real-time imagery and relay it to command centers, manned aircraft can adjust their routes mid-flight to exploit emerging weaknesses in enemy coverage. Simultaneously, decoy UAVs can be launched to mimic the radar signature of fighter jets, triggering premature or misdirected enemy responses. These multi-pronged attacks are then coordinated with simulated incursions along other sectors of the border, forcing an adversary to divert attention and resources away from the real axis of engagement. The outcome is a fluid battlefield where Pakistan can shape the tempo and geography of aerial engagements in its favor. What truly alarms Western defense analysts is the speed at which these hybrid tactics are evolving. Pakistan is not simply borrowing playbooks from larger air forces, it is adapting them to its own geographical realities and strategic requirements. This includes training pilots in high-speed, low-altitude penetration to evade radar, timing electronic warfare bursts to coincide with critical strike windows, and rehearsing scenarios where limited forces can achieve disproportionate strategic effects. The complexity of hybrid air tactics means they cannot be easily countered by sheer technological superiority alone, as they rely on exploiting human decision-making under pressure as much as they do on hardware. This human-centric element, confusing and overloading an adversary's ability to make timely decisions, is precisely what makes Pakistan's air doctrine so difficult to neutralize. By combining deception, electronic disruption, and precise strikes into one synchronized effort, Pakistan has positioned its air force as a highly adaptive and strategically unpredictable player, forcing Western defense circles to reconsider long-held assumptions about the limits of air power in South Asia. The expansion of Pakistan's air defense networks is one of the most significant developments that has unsettled Western defense circles, primarily because it fundamentally changes the risk calculations for any force considering air operations in the region. Historically, Pakistan's air defense posture was built around a mix of older radar systems, short to medium-range surface-to-air missile batteries, and interceptor aircraft. While this provided a respectable level of coverage, it left certain vulnerabilities in detection range, reaction time, and layered engagement capabilities. Over the past few years, however, Pakistan has undertaken a deliberate and methodical modernization of this network, integrating Chinese-made radars, advanced tracking systems, and long-range surface-to-air missile SAM platforms into a far more cohesive and responsive structure. This integration has extended detection ranges deep into contested airspace, allowing Pakistan to spot potential threats earlier and coordinate defensive responses with greater precision. The incorporation of systems like the Chinese LY-80 and HQ-9P has not only improved interception capabilities but also added multiple engagement layers, meaning incoming threats now face a tiered defense rather than a single penetrable shield. What makes this expansion particularly concerning for Western defense analysts is the level of interoperability Pakistan has achieved between its air defense units and its fighter aircraft. In the past, air defense batteries and interceptor squadrons often operated as somewhat separate entities, linked through command channels but not fully integrated in real time. Now, radar feeds, threat detection data, and target prioritization can be shared instantly across the network, allowing air defense batteries to work in close synchronization with airborne interceptors. This creates a dynamic, defense-in-depth model that can adapt quickly to changing threats. If a hostile aircraft or missile evades one layer of defense, it immediately encounters another, with minimal gaps in coverage. The result is a far more resilient air defense posture that complicates any planning for offensive